76% of hiring managers have said they struggle to find quality candidates. But why? When companies are requiring more qualifications than ever and the hiring pool is full of candidates. The truth is, many positions are staying open for months, with people being rejected over trivial requirements. Jobs data is showing that more jobs are being created. But how, when people online are complaining and giving their anecdotal evidence on their hiring struggles? So either the data is wrong or the jobs don't exist. And in my opinion, both are true. With the people getting hit hardest by this mess being graduates. Don't get me wrong, I know the market is a nightmare for everybody. But we're like millennials in 2008. A sacrificial lamb saddled with a bad job market, economy, and worst of all, a scapegoat reputation for not wanting to work. Recent grads are now drowning in student debt, only to discover that entry-level jobs can now require up to 3 to 5 years of experience. And sadly, the grad jobs are starting to dry out, with companies keen to replace them with AI. Then you have the mid-career dudes who are stuck in career progression hell because of all the blockages in the pipeline. This likely being caused by the retirement age being increased, causing a traffic jam in career progression. As now retirees are postponing retirement to save or work longer to support themselves. Reporting is even showing that many would-be retirees are even working multiple jobs, and that retirement may even cease to exist.
Hey.
A walk with Rosie and Logan is a rare break for Marianne O'Connor.
The puppies.
Then she's back on her laptop, juggling 2 jobs. Sometimes up to 11 hours a day.
What did you think you'd be doing at 66?
Oh, I would hope to be retired.
And what are you doing at 66?
I'm working my butt off.
No savings, no 401k, not even enough to cover an emergency. She sold her home, and with 2 other women, bought a smaller one, living together to save money.
Thank you very much. How has that been?
Well, it's been a matter of life and death.
Roughly half of all Americans ages 55 to 66 have nothing saved for retirement.
So what, we're just gonna work until we die with no added incentive like less working days or more holiday? That is a no from me. That is a no from me. I can hear the police. Can't hear it. Okay, that's enough. I'm wasting valuable time. But now, with these positions being held for longer, those below have to reevaluate their plans too. Delaying things like family planning, moving out, and essentially pausing every other milestone as well, which has ironically led to the infantilization we're seeing in younger generations in the workforce, causing the exact difficulties in hiring that managers complain about. You see what I'm coming up? I'm cooking. Let me cook, guys. Let me cook. I'm a good cook. Let me have a little sake as well. Let me just light with it. Stay light with it. Because if you can't get a job, how can you get experience? And if you can't get experience, how can you grow and develop as a person? A whole generation of people are being wasted and underdeveloped due to a lack of progression. This isn't just frustrating, it's creating a whole class of underemployed talent that nobody is tapping into. So much wasted potential being unutilized. And it's probably quite dehumanizing for those affected. You want to work, but you can't get your foot through the door, or the juice just isn't worth the squeeze. Incentivizing many to simply not work, and I can't blame them. I just don't want to pay for it. Just being real. I'm not paying for it. So what happened when it was only 2 years ago that all these jobs influencers were posting their day in the life of at these cushy big tech jobs? Well, they all got laid off. Expeditiously. They got laid off.
Whatever happened to those day in the life working in tech vlogs?
It's because we all got laid off, honey. I worked at Spotify in 2019. It was my first job out of college. I was so excited. Like, it was my dream to move to New York City and just like live that like Carrie Bradshaw lifestyle. And we got so many amazing perks when I worked at Spotify. We got free food, free breakfast, lunch, and sometimes we would get dinner too. We would get free concerts. We would get free international trips to Sweden. There were just so many perks, and now all those perks have completely disappeared. Not to mention, I also got laid off from my job, but that's a story for another day.
And I can't help but feel like these videos set people up with an unrealistic expectation of what it's like to work in tech, or any company for that matter. Not only that, but we've also got to remember the environmental context. These videos were being posted during the Great Resignation, which was the employees' job market. Tech companies were growing exponentially, investing and offering competitive hiring packages to nab the best talent. But many of these people weren't tech workers. They were non-technical employees working in tech. There's a difference, making them non-essential to operations and unfortunately the most vulnerable to volatility-based layoffs caused by economic downturns. Downturns which have made borrowing money for growth more expensive for companies, leading to workforce streamlining and consolidations to cut cost. As human resource, I hate that saying, is often a company's biggest expense. But honestly, overhiring from overinflated tech usage when everyone was stuck inside is also to blame. Because with overhiring also comes the corrective mass layoffs. As growth cannot be infinite, things cool down, and many companies didn't plan for this, or they simply didn't care. As maybe they always intended to fire them anyway. But here's what nobody tells you about the modern day job market. It's not about being the most qualified person. The game has different rules that are unspoken, yet somehow you're expected to know how to play. Make that make sense. People now have multiple or even advanced degrees. Meanwhile, employers are actually looking for practical skills that they can use right away, rendering further education meaningless, essentially devaluing the degree to the entry-level baseline. But this wasn't the case even 5 to 10 years ago. I still remember how hard they forced us all into writing personal statements for university, even when some people knew they didn't want to go. Why is this? Well, schools were highly incentivized to push people through the university pipeline. This made schools look better and probably provided good metrics for pulling in more funding, new students, and I'm sure provided a cheeky little end-of-year bonus. But now, when we look at recent jobs data for graduates and Gen Z, it's a case of overqualified and underemployed, where we see degree holders in low-paying positions unrelated to their degree due to oversaturation. And no, it's not just the Mickey Mouse degrees in underwater basket weaving. It's also the STEM degrees, like computer science. Not the STEM! Not the STEM! As a Gen Z computer science graduate, I can honestly say going to university is a decision I regret. And not because I didn't have a good time, which I didn't. I spent most of it crying in the library or in my room. Computer science is hard. Or because of employment difficulty, as I somehow managed to catch the last ship on the grad scheme boat. But because it was never really my decision. Parental and faculty pressure played a big part in my decision to go. And even in 2016, they really did make it seem like this was the only pathway to success. But only 4 years after graduating, successfully using my degree, and actually working a well-paying job that I enjoy, I could say I could have did this without the degree. I could have did it without paying all that money. I want all that money back. I want the interest cancelled. I want people prison. I want them in jail. Too far. Not far enough, actually. Now, don't get me wrong. I got my foot through the door doing a grad scheme, which obviously requires a degree. But things move so quickly in tech that you're always adapting and learning, making everything at uni almost outdated by the time you graduate. Data is showing the schemes that used to be dedicated to getting new grads into roles are being systematically erased in favor of AI. So, what is the point in university? Is it just one big Ponzi scheme? Yes. The answer is yes. Unless you want to be a doctor, but from the clips, they can't get a job either. So, with the uncertainty in the job market, as well as mass layoffs from this and last year, the market is now incredibly competitive and filled with highly skilled candidates, eclipsing new grads even further, putting the ball in the employer's court to make as many unreasonable demands as they wish. It's an employer's market, baby. It's a cold world. This is forcing experienced candidates to take significant pay or benefit cuts to survive an economic downturn environment. But here's the worst part. Research has shown that 80% of workers who negotiated their salary last year were awarded raises of up to 5 to 10%, meaning that soft skills like negotiation and good communication can matter more than technical qualifications. Now more than ever, your network and who vouches for you can trump what's on your resume. And sometimes simply being in the right place at the right time can make all the difference. I realized halfway through my grad scheme that my technical skills were being majorly undervalued. I even received feedback from my manager that my work was amazing, but I wasn't networking enough. Which confused me because as a computer science grad, all I wanted to do is code and do cool robot stuff. And now I'm being told I need to network? That was the Gen Z stare. Thankfully, I begrudgingly took this constructive feedback on board, and I can say my two most lucrative and highly marketable roles in AI as well as cybersecurity were achieved through, yes, technical capability and a willingness to learn, but absolutely from building a strong network in tech who helped push me, or even specifically bring me into positions. It's like being a Nepo baby, but also actually putting in the work. The disconnect from what employers want and what employees can realistically offer is reaching a breaking point. And with it being an employer's market, companies can create job descriptions for the ever-elusive unicorn whilst rejecting perfectly capable horses. And workers burn out trying to become these unicorns. Or people are forced to take on multiple forms of employment, sacrificing their physical or mental health as well as work-life balance. And innovation begins to suffer when teams lack a diversity of experience and thought, causing further hits to the economy when talent goes unused and companies can't fill these crucial roles. But also, that unused talent can't boost the sluggish economy. They don't have any purchasing power. And if we don't address this growing gap, we're headed to a job market that works for precisely no one. But who's to blame? And how do we solve this? Well, I'm going to be a little bit of a devil's advocate, so don't hate me. Well, you can if you want, just put a little comment below. The employee needs to upskill and evolve during this difficult and competitive time, but the employer needs to change too. By valuing and investing in their employees, corporations have an opportunity to tap into a pool of untapped talent. During my time in innovation, the director told me to read a book called The Innovator's Dilemma by Clayton Christensen, and it's absolutely worth the read. The book dived into reasons for economic recession, why they happen, and how companies who invest during this difficult time often end up on top. And we all know now's a difficult time financially, as well as physically and mentally. 2 years after reading this book, I still think about it and I see its effects in everyday life. And to me, the key takeaway from it is if the employee and the employer both decide to invest and innovate themselves during this difficult time, maybe we can all end up on top, or at least stable. My advice to Gen Z would be, please don't let older generations convince you that university is the only path to success. There are more pathways now than ever, so make sure to explore all of them. I honestly only went to uni so I could leave my town, move out, and make new friends. And it's still good for that development experience, but not 60k good, the fuck? Hell no. But when big companies like Google, Microsoft, IBM are offering degree apprenticeships, meaning you can get the degree on the job and get paid for it, it's a no-brainer. Yes, you won't be getting paid as much and you will probably have to live at home. But in this economy, most people are living with their parents anyway, and they're in debt. So choose your suffering. And my advice and hopes for employers is to truly invest and take chances on new young hires, because no one can predict how things are going to pan out after this new transitional period we're in is over. But what we can predict from historical data is that companies that don't evolve and invest might not be around when the dust settles. So really, it's down to both the employer as well as the employee to stop living in delusion and find mutually beneficial solutions to end this employment hell. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video. I hope you enjoyed it and you got something out of it. I will be trying to get back on track onto the normal schedule of uploading at the same time every week, but we'll see how that goes. Like, subscribe, comment, get that engagement going, and I will catch you in the next installment. Bye.